The topic of this video is the occult is a reality in our culture. The occult has been around since the fall of Adam and Eve. It's essentially the devil's religion, which he concocted when he tempted and deceived Adam and Eve, convincing them to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which they did in order to become like God. The temptation he presented was, first, to break God's commandments, and in the process of that action, second, to obtain power and knowledge. This power and knowledge was supposed to enable them to become like God, so the tempter said. The act of eating from the tree was an act of superstition, seeking to become gods by eating of fruit. Thus, the occult is an anti-religion, a system of false practice and false beliefs. As we can see in the fall of Adam and Eve, the devil is all too ready to respond when we take up an occult ritual. But his response will involve a lie, a twisted promise, and an outcome that was not desired by the individual. For the occult to really get a foothold in a culture as we see it today, God's presence must be pushed away first. This is what happens in the life of an individual as well. As we know from sacred scripture, when a demon has been cast out of a man, the demon seeks to return. If that demon is permitted to return and repossess the man, it will be accomplished with the help of 7 demons who are stronger than the first. Thus, the second state of the man is worse than the first. In our age, this has clearly occurred, and the statistics which I cover in Chapter 1 of The Rise of the Occult give some of the evidence for this. Alongside the decline of Christianity, we have a massive diabolical agenda which has successfully been implemented in the culture. This agenda can be seen in various ways, such as the aggressive and rabid desire for abortion to be legal up until birth. It can be seen in woke companies willingly flying their employees all over the country in order to find abortion. We see it in the drag queen story hours and the insane mutilation surgeries that the culture is pushing on the youth, in which many of the youth are blindly seeking out themselves. We see it in satanic after-school clubs, in the approval of pornographic books by public schools, the annihilation of gender in these same schools, the promotion of the occult in popular kids programming, adult programming, even in bookstores. We also see it in the growth in so-called atheistic satanic groups, which, when you look below the surface, they are clearly involved in real occult ritual activity. And this is happening within a society that lives, on the whole, in a state of mortal sin, including the majority of self-proclaimed Catholics. The result is that while the word occult means that it is hidden and concealed and secret, this secret religion has decided to come out from the shadows. One priest told me, most of the ways that Satan and the demons attack us are the same old ways, always very personalized. But the difference is we have a culture right now that has largely embraced a lot of this, and even celebrated the blatant sins. Then he also adds, as for the deeper, darker side of the occult, I've noticed tons of this in my priestly ministry, and this priest is not an exorcist. Most people, as a result, are blind to the occult in their midst. One exorcist I spoke to said, there is a campaign of desensitizing people to the occult and then a promotion of it. One person I spoke to said that we are living in the New Age. This was a former occultist. We are living in the New Age. So this New Age culture, as she described it, is a culture of instant gratification filled with mechanical things, energy, magnets, technology. The culture is in love with anything that has to do with magic and the spiritual world, but at the same time rejects traditional Christian morality. There's also the false distinction among people that certain New Age practices are not actually occult practices and are thus harmless. This includes the rejection of objective truth, which is a central and necessary doctrine of occultism. This brings with it the modern amorality and the promotion of all kinds of sexual deviancy. As one former occultist said, these moral depravities are things embraced by the occult, and by being involved with them, you can indirectly embrace the occult even without it being a conscious choice. Too many parents naively trust the culture, and this is part of the problem. They trust the schools, television, news, children's programming, and too many parents are often surprised by how devious these channels of information have become. Often they only become aware of it when they see the destructive effects on their children. I have seen this countless times on social media when parents have posted about this surprise evil showing up in the lives of their children. This is where the insights provided by former occultists are very valuable. Having been deep in that world, they see things that we do not notice. Their advice can help us know what to look for and to know what things mean, what symbols mean, what words mean. Often these former occultists, as well as priests and psychologists and others in the church who are aware of these issues, complain that people think they're crazy when they bring it up. However, as I have collected in The Rise of the Occult, it's quite obvious that this is a reality. One of the big signs of the occult in our culture is the emphasis on the self. Self-help is a huge industry, as well as notions of taking care of yourself, looking to yourself, being true to yourself, being your authentic self, and other common things like that. Self-help is very prominent in the New Age movement. As one former occultist told me, it is everywhere. Self-help moves into self-empowerment, which is the exact thing the occult is seeking to lead people into. Even witchcraft today is utilizing the self-help label. There was one article which I pulled into my book on witchcraft from a mainstream newspaper which essentially promotes it. The article said, young witch language can sound like a cross between self-help prayer and therapy. A simple sounding but also extremely widespread New Age practice is astrology. As one former occultist told me, he began with astrology and then naturally went to Eastern meditation, and then yoga, and then chakras, and then crystals, and then spirit guides, and down into a spiraling trap that almost led him literally becoming possessed by demons. Another very widespread New Age practice is manifesting. This is a practice where the will of the individual is believed to be able to cause change in the world. It's tied in with the law of attraction and what is also called New Thought, and it's extremely popular today. In 2022, on TikTok, there were 17 billion views of the hashtag manifestations. This has also been adopted by many modern Christians. Within it is the idea that you can manifest or manipulate an energy which the universe can then arrange to bring about the thing you're seeking, the idea or thought you're projecting through manifesting your desires. There are many other things that are widespread which I discuss in the book, such as sage smudging, dream catchers, and other indigenous religious rituals or symbols that are deemed to have some kind of spiritual or material effect, which would make them essentially a superstition with a diabolical power operating behind them. So parents especially need to wake up to this reality because they are responsible for the formation of the souls of their children. We cannot simply allow the culture to educate them when it is our duty as Christians to educate them in the truths which God has revealed and delivered to us through His church. Pope Pius XI said that parents are entrusted with their children as gifts, as talents committed to their charge by God, which are to be restored to God with interest. The children of parents are God's children. As a result, parents need to be fully informed of how intrusive the occult is in the lives of their children today. When it comes to occult superstitions, occult philosophies and ways of thinking, occult rituals, and occult morality. After waking up to these dangerous realities, parents then need to wake up to the treasures of the church, which reside in her sacred traditions, especially the traditional Latin Mass and the traditional sacramentals. These two issues are discussed in my first major book, Slaying Dragons, as well as in my book for youth and parents, Swords and Shadows. And I will be continuing to explore those issues in future books, God willing. God bless you.